Hey, I went by your house the other day. Is your baby pregnant?
I don't know. Lois is in charge of the kids.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most infuriating and annoying Family Guy moments that made even diehard fans want to change the channel. Spoilers will be mentioned, so this is your official warning.
Chris, come on. We're going home. He can't make you do this.
But Mom, I want to do this.
What?
Number 30, Refrigerator Meg. Considering how long the show's been on air, you'd think it'd have its thumb firmly on the pulse of pop culture. Yet there are plenty of moments where it's incredibly out of touch. Girl Interneted is the prime example. It's centered around Meg becoming an unexpectedly popular web star, subsequently ruining her own life to maintain her audience.
Oh, and what's this? Strawberry yogurt? Is your girl Meg some kind of health nut? Nope. Turn it around. 35 grams of sugar! Yeah, through the roof!
It had the potential to be an interesting satirical take, but ended up coming across like the writers hadn't been online in a decade. From referencing outdated YouTubers to surface-level observations on sponsors and the dangers of viral fame, it only appealed to those already scared of the internet. It's clear to see why even diehard fans consider this weak, even for a Meg episode.
I'm still Refrigerator Meg! But from here on, my fridge will be full of fruits, vegetables, and lean meats! Yo, yo, yo!
Number 29, Brian acts on his instincts. With all of his anthropomorphic qualities, it can be easy to overlook that the Griffin family pet is a dog. We'll sometimes get glimpses of Brian's canine qualities, often in a comedic way.
Hey, get out of here! This is my house!
So, when he suddenly and viciously mauled a baby squirrel Chris and Stewie had been tirelessly raising, fans were genuinely shaken. It was a brutally violent moment that felt like it was purely done for shock value, especially when he never apologized for the horrific act.
You knew there was a dog in the house. He's practically your best friend. Or maybe even more than that.
You shut your damn mouth!
It derailed the rest of the episode, and the failed attempt at tugging the viewer's heartstrings at the very end was the rotten cherry on top. If this is the alternative, we'll take the usual egotistical Brian any day. Number 28, Brian's inflated ego. We may have spoken too soon. When he's not acting like a dog, Brian has a tendency to act like a jerk. This is especially clear after his rise to fame in Brian Writes a Bestseller. After his self-help book became a hit, he quickly devolved into an arrogant diva.
How do you think I feel walking out of the back room of a restaurant and seeing Renee Zellweger eating in the front room of that restaurant? I am mortified. Absolutely mortified. You should know better than this.
The joke lost its luster early on, especially once he started using his fame to be a creep towards his fans and even being needlessly cruel to his best friend. The most insulting moment by far was his non-apology, a completely unsatisfying end to an annoying arc. It was a glaring example of his deterioration from the earliest season, making several viewers realize he had taken a permanent turn for the worse.
I was just trying to write something that would sell. I think it's crap too.
Wow. If I had even one shred of respect for you before this, it's gone now.
Number 27, Megs Santa obsession. There are some moments throughout Family Guy that make you wonder what was going through the writers' minds at the time. Meg having an incredibly personal moment with a mall Santa, all while holding Stewie on her lap, takes the cake.
What just happened?
I'll have what she's having.
Besides being incredibly long and drawn out, it also completely traumatized her brother. What's worse is that it didn't end there. She dragged him all over, harassing several costumed men in an attempt to recreate that first high, with her own father being one of them.
Dad, I'm gonna ask you one question, and how you answer it will determine the rest of my life. Were you the Santa at this mall yesterday?
No.
Oh, thank God.
It was gross and uncomfortable purely for the sake of it, with no comedic payoff to balance it out. If the goal was to pull fans out of their Christmas cheer, then they succeeded tenfold. Number 26, Chip. Love him or hate him, many will agree that Peter Griffin is annoying. Whether it's his actions or his mannerisms, to say that he can be grating is an understatement. So the fact that the writers thought a tiny version of him with a pitched up voice would be a good idea is baffling.
Kids, remember how when you were little you always wanted a neck uncle?
No.
Well, now you got one!
Ah! What is pathetic!
His vestigial twin Chip was entertaining at first, but things quickly went off the rails when it became apparent that he'd be sticking around for the rest of the episode. His constant excitement for everything led to a series of one-note jokes, all punctuated by the aggravating cadence of his voice.
But where are those good old-fashioned values
on which we used to rely?
What the hell is going on here?
It's clear to see why both Peter and the fans hated him. Number 25, racist and stereotypical jokes about India. Family Guy isn't exactly known for being sensitive towards any group, with practically everyone becoming a target for their offensive humor. Sometimes, though, it comes across as genuinely mean-spirited. Having an entire Road 2 episode dedicated to India had plenty of potential. However, they just couldn't help themselves from filling time with a litany of racist jokes. Everything about the country was eviscerated, from the crowds to their religious beliefs.
What I wouldn't give right now for a big, juicy steak.
How dare you? To us, cows are sacred.
That's right. You are disrespecting our entire culture.
And why did Wes Anderson come here to make his worst movie?
It was a non-stop onslaught of tired stereotypes. What's worse is they were interwoven with the main plot, making them inescapable. Closing everything out with a by-the-numbers, unimaginative Bollywood-inspired song was the final blow. It was a waste of what had been the fans' favorite installments in the series.
You know what? It's about the journey, not the destination.
No, it's not. This sucked and you failed.
Number 24, Karen Griffin. By this point, it's common knowledge that the show's protagonist isn't the best father or husband. With how much he's tormented them over the years, it makes sense that fans would want to see him get a taste of his own medicine from time to time. However, seeing his sister Karen make his life a living nightmare was too far, even for him.
Peter, come say hello to your sister.
Fine.
She relentlessly berated and embarrassed him in front of his family and friends. The worst moment came when she performed one of her wrestling moves on him, nearly strangling him in the process. It was so intense that he reverted back to a childlike state, making the other characters and the audience wish they were watching anything else.
And then so I'm like, Peter, how was I supposed to know you didn't want your teammates to know you wore a bra?
It was a custom-designed sports halter top.
More stories! More stories!
Number 23, treatment of Ida Quagmire. The line between playful humor and hurtful insults is often razor thin. While Family Guy flirts with offensive comedy without taking it too far, it crossed that boundary with the treatment of Ida Quagmire.
All I've talked about for years with these people is what a war hero you were.
And I was. I'm changing my future, not my past.
Oh yeah? What about my future?
She became the butt of every joke in Quagmire's dad, many of which seemed intentionally cruel. While being subjected to invasive questions and Lois having her food thrown out was bad enough, the most sickening moment happened behind her back. She and Brian had spent the night together, and he was excited until he learned who she was. His drawn-out disgust was bad enough, and it coming after he sang her praises rubbed salt in the wound.
How does this happen? When they move to a new place, they're supposed to notify the neighborhood. That's how it works.
It was so mean-spirited that it caused fans and activist groups to change the channel. Number 22, their contribution to the abortion debate. As hard as they've tried, this series just doesn't handle serious topics very well. Even causes they support end up being portrayed horribly. Partial terms of endearment is a perfect example. After Lois becomes a surrogate for her friends, they die in a tragic accident, leaving her to grapple with the decision to continue the pregnancy or not.
Well, there's no harm in visiting the family planning center just to see what your options are.
It's such a big decision.
Of course it's a big decision. Life is full of big decisions.
Rather than take it seriously, the show took the opportunity to make several crude, violent jokes about the medical procedure. Their attempt at nuance only muddied things even further, putting off fans on both sides of the debate.
Okay, this argument isn't working. Peter, what if carrying the baby to term would endanger the mother's life?
I don't know what 7 of those words were.
It was so offensive that both cable and streaming networks gave it the chop, and it's clear to see why. Number 21, Brian's marriage. If there's one thing that's been made clear, it's that the family dog is not the luckiest when it comes to love. For a moment, that ended when he met Jess, a woman dying from cancer. He even asked her to marry him, though it was for selfish reasons. On their wedding day, her doctor revealed she was going to live.
Brian, we really will be together forever. Forever and ever and ever.
Jess's character was immediately destroyed, with her becoming unbearably annoying and physically unappealing to Brian. What's worse is that the arc lasted for 2 episodes. Both were filled to the brim with stereotypical boomer humor, from their weight gain to their general disdain for one another.
Brian, I can explain.
Explain what? How you brought me here to have me killed?
Well, you're no better. You could have saved my life in the restaurant, but you let me choke to death.
Okay, fine. I probably could have done more to save your life.
It was a slog to get through, and it was a rough start to their 17th season. Number 20, the long Conway Twitty Cutaway. Normally, the Conway Twitty Cutaway gags are funny distractions from awkward moments, while also paying tribute to the late country singer.
Yikes, looks like I need a distraction.
However, when Peter tries to distract Lois in The Juice is Loose, they show a full 3-minute segment of Mr. Twitty performing I See the Want To in Your Eyes. Not only does the diversion not work, it also takes a sizable chunk out of the episode and feels more like cheap filler. Unfortunately, no matter how iconic the running gag is, this is a prime example of too much of a good thing. We're not even sure Mr. Twitty himself would have approved.
Conway Twitty says cut it out. Just write a joke.
Number 19, Brian switches political ideologies. For a long time in the show's history, Brian acted as the conscience of the Griffin family. He was a cynical liberalist, leaning left with his antics, including weed legalization and jabs at George W. Bush.
Oh my God, they just elected him out of pity because they think he's mentally challenged.
Kind of like we did with George W. Bush, huh?
Right? I guess, Brian.
In Excellence in Broadcasting, Brian does a complete 180 and aligns himself with Rush Limbaugh, a premier American conservative.
Oh my God. Rush Limbaugh was right all along. Conservative republicanism is the answer. Good. Good for Brian.
Through this moment, Brian's ideology became less about what he believed in and more about how he could pretentiously laud his intelligence over everyone else.
What did you think of the movie Titanic?
Horrible. One of the worst movies ever made.
How about Slumdog Millionaire?
Overrated. Just a terrible movie.
Cocktail.
Actually, not a bad film. As classically structured cinema, Cocktail was one of the best films of its era.
Of course, this made you lose any kind of respect for the character. But it's not the last controversial moment featuring the anthropomorphic canine. Number 18, diaper eating. Family Guy has a consistently outlandish and hilarious tone throughout, but it isn't afraid to get serious when it needs to. The Season 8 episode Brian and Stewie is such an episode, featuring the iconic duo getting stuck in a bank vault and going to some dark places.
Dogs are supposed to be able to instinctively live with purpose, not even to have to think about it, just born like that. But I wasn't. I've tried to find meaning in my life, and I just can't.
A lot of fans love this episode for showing development in the pair's relationship, so it's a shame the writers ruined it with this disgusting and unnecessary moment.
If the poo were to be removed...
What is it? What are you driving at?
Eat it.
What?
Eat my poo, Brian.
It goes on for a long time and makes viewers genuinely uncomfortable. Maybe that was what they were going for, but if you hate gross-out humor, this quite possibly made you switch channels and miss out on what else the episode had to offer.
Oh my God.
What?
It's all on tape.
What's all on tape? Oh my God! Oh, that is gonna be on YouTube!
Number 17, time-filling gags and morbid premise. For many fans, the golden age of Family Guy had long passed by the time season 17 rolled around. Just like how the Conway Twitty gag felt like the show was just padding for time, Con Eris suffered the same problem throughout. The premise of Brian, Stewie, and Quagmire trying to inherit elderly women's fortunes is morbid enough, but what might have made you lose interest was something much more straightforward. The episode felt dragged out, like there wasn't much there, especially during the long name joke.
Who is she?
That's Margaret Woolworth Carrington von Schumacher Chanel Astor Livingston Comte de Saint-Exupéry Mountbatten Windsor Armani Roosevelt von Trapp Wickenham Hearst Montgomery Rothschild Johnson & Johnson Twillsworth Dolce Gabbana von Zweig Second Montgomery.
There are plenty of elongated jokes like this throughout the series, but the punchline wasn't funny enough to justify the setup.
Barrington Chadsworth Big League Chew Chesterfield Kensington Booth Bishop Longbottom Nottingham Meisterburger Burgermeister Tudor Habsburg Rockefeller Onassis.
Number 16, DVD commentary. When a show becomes a staple of American television, you can experiment and get creative with episodes. While some of these break the formula concepts have done reasonably well, You Can't Handle the Booth from season 17 did not. An episode plays out as expected in front of us, but the difference is the fictional cast of Griffins gets frustrated while recording DVD commentary.
They're not even going to explain how we all got stuck? Season 16, ladies and gentlemen. Suddenly the family is stuck in the banister slats.
Baluster.
Brian, seriously.
While there are plenty of funny fourth wall breaking moments, it proved a little too hard to follow for some. As a result, the episode became one of the lowest ever rated on IMDb. There wasn't a single final straw, as many user reviews claimed it was too dull to finish, pointing to a decline in the show's overall quality. Number 15. Peter saving the whale. When Peter gets promoted to forklift operator at work, he naturally starts having too much fun with his new vehicle. He tries to use it to rescue a beached sperm whale, only to accidentally impale the poor mammal.
Step aside, I'll handle this. Give me some room.
Afterward, we're subjected to a whole minute of Peter trying to dislodge the creature, only for it to fall completely apart in a grotesque display, as blood and organs topple out of the carcass. While we should maybe give props to the art directors and animators for not missing any gruesome details, fans were too busy gagging at the scene and feeling disheartened over the poor whale's suffering.
You're welcome.
Number 14. Vern and Johnny. Every now and then in the first few seasons, the action would be interrupted by two vaudevillian performers named Vern and Johnny. While Vern tried and usually failed to entertain viewers, Johnny was just there to play him off on a piano. Do not ask where the piano comes from.
Now that's rich. Play me off, Johnny.
While their antics were mostly harmless, fans got tired of them disrupting the episode. And even then producer David Goodman admitted that they used the duo way too much. The gag was finally laid to rest when Stewie shot them to death in season 5. And aside from a few brief cameos, they haven't bothered us since. Number 13. Making fun of President Trump. Family Guy and its various animated sitcom competitors have never shied away from taking shots at high-profile figures. Political satire is an essential part of our media, but unfortunately, Trump Guy wasn't an excellent example of it. In this episode, Peter assists then U.S. President Donald Trump, getting into all sorts of shenanigans as his press secretary.
This country needs stronger border security. Our border security is the strongest in the world.
What we need is to take care of our children.
I can't get an erection.
You think giving them amnesty is fair to the people who are already here?
They're contributing to the economy.
I've tried all the herbs.
The episode is obviously taking shots at the man and his various controversies, but many fans found his depiction lazy. It was a pretty gross depiction at that, but the last straw for some was when he makes advances towards Meg.
Oh, please, every president since Washington has done this.
Some might have quit this episode for making fun of a president they admired, while others just got agitated by the cheap humor. Number 12. Jesus is a Virgin. The episode I Dream of Jesus, in which the Son of God is made a fully formed character, is one of the most beloved episodes of Seth MacFarlane's show. But a follow-up appearance in The 2,000-Year-Old Virgin became one of the most hated.
All right, Jesus, nowadays everything is done on the internet. All right, so we got to get you on Facebook. Oh, let me just close a couple of these windows. There we go. Sorry, I was up late last night. I had the house to myself.
In season 13, Peter tries to get the Lord and Savior laid, eventually trying it with Lois. But overall, the episode was criticized for being edgy to garner more viewers while lacking the substance to keep people laughing. And if there was a rock bottom moment for the episode, it's the unfunny instance when Jesus' real middle name is revealed.
I don't know, man. Jesus, Hitler, Christ sounds weird.
So just go with H.
Yeah.
Number 11. Stewie's Therapist. Stewie has a lot of issues, so it's no surprise that a visit to a child psychologist sees him sharing a lot of secrets and insecurities. Towards the end of the session, however, the doctor starts having a heart attack and asks Stewie to hand him his medicine, but Stewie refuses.
I don't understand. Why aren't you getting my medication?
It's true that Stewie is a sadistic little toddler and is killed plenty of times, but this was especially shocking because he didn't even get his hands dirty.
I'm not going to get it.
Is this because I made you wait?
It's because I can't have anyone know the real me.
Instead, he elected to ignore the pleas of someone who only wanted to help him and let the poor therapist suffer a slow, agonizing death, taking all of Stewie's secrets with him to the grave. Number 10. Male sexual assault is disregarded. Humor can be a great way to bring awareness to serious topics in the real world, but the Family Guy team handled this one poorly.
Oh no, I dropped my pencil.
Oh, I'll get it for you.
In Peter Assment, Peter gets blackmailed and inappropriately harassed by his boss, Angela. The episode plays out very cynically, with one particular moment between Peter and Lois hitting a sore point for male victims.
Peter, a woman can't sexually harass a man.
Why not?
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, guys like being touched by women. It's not harassment if you like it.
But I didn't like it.
While this highlights a real problem with these cases, the episode ends trying to create sympathy for the perpetrator.
I just wish one person was able to find me attractive. But that's not too much to ask, is it?
No.
It was a bizarre episode, and even weirder for the late Carrie Fisher to be playing the role of an aggressor when she was a silent champion to victims of such crimes. Number 9. Stewie gets herpes. This moment removed any shadow of likability for Brian Griffin. After seeing a blood brothers ritual on television, Stewie asks Brian if they can share blood in the same way. Brian accepts, knowing full well he has a transmittable disease, and ends up getting Stewie infected. The show pulls no punches, showing disgusting, hard-to-watch imagery relating to the condition.
Stewie, that's crazy. There's no way I gave you herpes. Then how do you explain this?
While Stewie has been horrendously hurt before in episodes like Brian Griffin's House of Pain, the difference here is the perpetrator shows no remorse for his actions. It transforms Brian's character into an insensitive jerk, which we saw hints at just episodes before with Brian's a bad father.
And you know what's weird? You're on a show, I'm a writer. It's almost like the universe is trying to, I don't know, make us work together or something. I don't know.
Number 8. Lois cheats on Peter. Lois and Peter have never had the best marriage in the world, but they've always stuck together no matter what. However, this episode destroyed any respect you had for the matriarch of the Griffin household. Peter has been neglecting and insulting Lois recently, so she attempts to get with Meg's boyfriend Anthony. The action of cheating on Peter is terrible enough, but what's worse is her interaction with her daughter afterward.
It was an awful thing that I did. I never meant to steal him from you.
Is that what you think? You stole him from me? Are you kidding? You couldn't steal him from me.
Well, I do know a few things, Meg, and clearly if I wanted him, I could have him.
Lois doesn't face any consequences for her actions, and instead lays all the blame on Peter.
And how the hell could you do that to me?
Because, Peter, you've been making me feel old and fat and unattractive and worthless. How do you expect me to respond?
While it is a complex situation, it doesn't shine a very nice light on Lois's character. Number 7. Peter in the Boston Marathon. While the rest of the episode Turban Cowboy was nothing to boast about, the worst moment came when Peter recalled how he won the Boston Marathon. Turns out he drove his car to the finish line, killing everyone in his path. It was an uninspired joke at the time, but then tragedy struck 1 month later with the Boston Marathon bombings. Fox pulled the episode from the airwaves and streaming services, and professional conspiracy theorist and tragedy troll Alex Jones went so far as to blame Family Guy for inspiring the incident. While that was quite a stretch, any way you look at it, the gag was in poor taste, especially in retrospect. Number 6. Meg the Martyr. She's constantly tormented at school, and her own family treats her like garbage. In Season 10's Seahorse Seashell Party, she's finally had enough and tears Chris, Lois, and Peter a new one.
You're my mother, and you took a child's trust and smashed it into bits in a 17-year-long mission to destroy something that you killed a long time ago.
The scene is unbelievably cathartic until Meg sees the way the family turns on each other and decides to allow herself to be their lightning rod.
Maybe if I feel bad, they don't have to.
This could be seen as a noble act on paper, but it really shows how toxic and dysfunctional the Griffin family is if they have to rely on Meg's misery to stay somewhat stable. A similar moment that made us rage quit was when Meg faked her death to get away from her family, but eventually came back. So close to freedom.
I owe my sister an apology. I shouldn't have treated her the way I did. And I think if Meg were here today, she'd be the first one to agree.
I am here! I'm right here!
Number 5. Quagmire's Trial. Quagmire is very controversial in this day and age since the character's humor revolves around questionable intimate situations. During a party, Quagmire's hookup with a girl gets him promptly arrested. At his trial, he explains he ended up the way he is because his mother was very promiscuous.
So you see, Your Honor, thanks to my mom, I never had a chance to be like everyone else. My misguided carnal instincts are the result of being raised by a sexual deviant. All I'm asking is that you give me the break that my childhood never did.
While this does give context to his character, this shouldn't absolve him from his antics. In fact, it almost doesn't. But his mother is able to curry favor with the judge.
Mom, did you?
Yep. twice. Instead of holding Quagmire somewhat accountable, all the blame is laid on a throwaway character. We could have seen a slightly mature response to his hijinks, but it gets disregarded using a lackluster excuse.
Quagmire got away with it and learned nothing. That's great.
Number 4. Peter marrying Chris?
After Chris bonds with his grandpa Carter, Carter makes him the sole heir of the Pewterschmidt family fortune. A jealous Peter tries unsuccessfully to get on Chris's good side to earn a chance at the money, but things turn creepy real fast.
There comes a time when every man looks at his son and thinks, I want to take this to the next level.
Peter asks Chris to marry him, and Chris agrees. What makes this really tragic is that the only reason Chris went along with the escapade was so that he could spend time with his father, which by itself could have made for a decent enough theme, without the proposal thrown into the mix.
Peter's uncomfortable jokes do nothing to help.
Yeah, and I bet you're especially happy we're getting married on a Thursday. School, yuck, right?
Number 3. Stewie gets pregnant.
We really wish we were joking, but no. Wanting to spend more time with Brian, Stewie uses Brian's DNA to impregnate himself.
We could even use my old crib.
You use your old crib.
It might have been funny watching Stewie discover the joys of being an expectant mother if he weren't a toddler himself. When the childbirth finally comes, it's horrifically gruesome, even without seeing the actual birth. Worst of all, their children turn out to be human-puppy hybrids.
Oh, I caught 2 of them trying to eat each other, so that's something we need to watch out for.
Thanks to birth defects, some end up dying, while Stewie and Brian abandon the rest at a shelter. They might be an iconic duo, but this was a huge, disturbing no-no.
Number 2. Jeff Felman.
We first met Quagmire's sister Brenda in Season 8, where we learned that she's constantly beaten by her boyfriend Jeff. In Season 10's Screams of Silence, the story of Brenda Q, we got another look at their toxic relationship, and it is a nightmare to watch.
Jeff pushes Brenda around for the pettiest of reasons,
and a lot of the blame is shifted onto Brenda for staying with him.
Sadly, the fact that you are with Jeff proves to me that you have made a choice to make your life worse.
Domestic violence is normally played for laughs on Family Guy, and in this episode, they tried to take it seriously and failed, which was somehow even more uncomfortable.
Even the happy ending was more bittersweet than it should have been.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Life of Brian Ratings Trap.
In the infamous episode Life of Brian, Brian's unexpected death forced fans to bid a tearful goodbye to one of the show's most beloved characters. Needless to say, fans were horrified or just enraged, and even launched a petition to bring the dog back.
Brian, look out! What the hell?
You're alive, my friend!
What? Of course I'm alive. What the hell's going on here?
However, Brian was miraculously saved via time travel 2 episodes later, and Seth MacFarlane tweeted that it was supposed to teach viewers a lesson about taking loved ones for granted. Unfortunately, this came off as emotionally manipulative and felt like a major ratings trap, resulting in probably the biggest backlash in Family Guy history.
Which Family Guy moment nearly made you give up on the series? Let us know in the comments below.
I don't have the parenting skills necessary to deal with this.
I say we never speak of this again.
I might move.